It was a restless night for Mark. The clock on his bedside table blinked 2 a.m. in glaring red digits. His throat felt like sandpaper, and his body was restless from tossing and turning for hours. No matter how much he tried, sleep wouldn't come until he had something to drink. The fridge in his small New York apartment was empty. No water, no juice, nothing. So he decided to make a quick run to the nearby 24-hour convenience store. As Mark stepped out into the silent streets, he noticed how different everything felt at this hour. The city that never sleeps seemed eerily still. The streetlights flickered occasionally, and the only sound was the distant hum of cars on a nearby highway. He pulled his jacket tighter around him, shivering slightly despite the warm summer night. Something about this particular night made his skin crawl, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. When Mark arrived at the convenience store, the neon sign blinked rhythmically, casting a dim green light on the sidewalk. The store looked just as it always did, familiar, but there was an odd stillness to it tonight. He pushed open the door, and the soft chime echoed through the store, louder than he remembered. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed quietly overhead. Shelves were neatly stocked with snacks, drinks, and all the usual essentials. But the store was empty. No cashier in sight, no other customers wandering the aisles at this late hour. Mark had been here enough times to know that the night shift worker was usually in the back room or taking inventory, so he didn't think much of it. As he made his way to the refrigerated section, his footsteps seemed to echo unnaturally loud, like the store was amplifying every sound. A slight chill ran down his spine. He felt like he was being watched, even though there was no one around. Mark grabbed a bottle of cold water and walked towards the counter, expecting the cashier to appear any moment. But instead, something far more unsettling happened. From the shadows of the back room, a figure slowly emerged. At first glance, Mark thought it was just another employee, but as the figure came closer, his stomach tightened with unease. This wasn't a regular person. The figure had an elongated face, pale skin with strange markings that seemed to shift and glow under the fluorescent lights. Its eyes, large, oval, and glowing a soft green, were unlike anything Mark had ever seen. They locked onto him as if piercing through his very soul. The creature, because Mark couldn't think of any other word for it, stepped behind the counter and stared at him in silence. Then, it spoke in a voice that was deep, almost vibrating through the air. "Is this all you desire, human?" Mark's heart skipped a beat. His mind was struggling to comprehend what he was seeing. Was this some kind of prank? Or was he hallucinating from lack of sleep? "Human?" he repeated in his mind. Why had the creature called him that? He stammered, his voice barely steady. Yeah, just the water." His hands trembled slightly as he reached for his wallet, trying to maintain a facade of normalcy. He couldn't take his eyes off the strange cashier. The creature, with its glowing eyes, watched him intently, as if studying his every move. "You are thirsty," it said in a slow, deliberate voice. "But water is not what you truly need." Mark felt a chill run down his spine. What could it possibly mean by that? All he wanted was a bottle of water to quench his thirst, but the way the creature spoke made it sound like it knew something more, something he wasn't aware of yet. Without breaking eye contact, the alien cashier leaned in slightly, its glowing eyes narrowing as it observed Mark. "I can offer you something better," it whispered, its voice barely louder than the hum of the store's lights. "Something beyond water. Something extraordinary." Mark instinctively took a step back, his mind screaming at him to run. The whole situation was spiraling into something surreal, something dangerous. "No, thanks, just the water," he muttered, trying to end the interaction and leave as quickly as possible. But the creature didn't move. It stood still, its expression unreadable, as though it knew Mark wouldn't leave so easily. The atmosphere felt dense, like the air was thickening, pressing against him, making it harder to breathe. "You don't understand," the alien said softly, its voice filled with a kind of eerie wisdom. "What I offer is life-changing." Mark's mind raced. Every fiber of his being told him to walk away, to get out of the store, but something about the creature's words sparked his curiosity. What could this alien possibly offer that was better than water? Was this some kind of strange test, or a hallucination? His thoughts were jumbled, trying to make sense of it all. He had come here for something simple, something normal, but now, nothing about this situation was ordinary. What do you mean? Mark finally asked, his voice shaky but unable to stop himself from asking. The question hung in the air between them. The alien didn't answer immediately, but seemed to be weighing its response carefully. Mark couldn't help but wonder if he was about to make the biggest mistake of his life by staying, but curiosity had a tight grip on him now. The alien cashier didn't answer with words. Instead, it reached under the counter and pulled out a small glass vial. Inside, a glowing blue liquid swirled hypnotically, like a tiny galaxy trapped in a bottle. Mark's eyes widened in disbelief. The liquid seemed almost alive, constantly shifting and changing. "Drink this," the alien said, holding the vial out towards him. "It will quench a thirst you didn't even know you had." Mark stared at the vial, the glowing liquid casting faint shadows on his hands as he hesitated. Every instinct screamed at him not to trust this strange being, but there was something almost alluring about the glowing liquid. He couldn't explain it, but the more he looked at it, the more he felt drawn to it. "What is it?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Something far better than what you call water," the alien replied, offering no further explanation. Mark's hand hovered over the vial, his heart pounding in his chest. Should he take it? His mind raced with thoughts of what could happen. This was insane. What was he doing? Yet, something deep inside urged him to take the leap. There was an undeniable pull towards the unknown, a temptation that gnawed at him. He had never believed in the supernatural, never thought much about life beyond Earth, but now, faced with something so clearly out of this world, his disbelief was crumbling. "What will happen to me if I drink it?" he asked, his voice betraying his fear. The alien's glowing eyes locked onto his, and for a moment it felt as though time stood still. "You will see the universe as it truly is," it said calmly. "You will transcend your human limits." Mark's hand trembled as he finally grasped the vial, his body tensed as if bracing for something monumental. With a deep breath, Mark unscrewed the cap of the vial. The smell that wafted from the liquid was sweet and intoxicating, unlike anything he had ever encountered before. Slowly, hesitantly, he brought the vial to his lips and took a small sip. Instantly, his body reacted. A surge of energy shot through him, more intense than anything he had ever experienced. His vision blurred for a moment, and when it cleared, the store looked different. The fluorescent light seemed brighter, more vibrant. Every color was more intense, every sound sharper. The cold, hard tiles of the store floor felt like they were pulsing with life beneath his feet. And then he realized something else. His thirst was completely gone. But it wasn't just thirst that had vanished. It was as though a weight had been lifted from his entire body, like he had shed some invisible burden he hadn't even known was there. Mark stood still, overwhelmed by the sensations coursing through his body. His mind raced to make sense of it all. He felt lighter, stronger, as if the energy of the universe had filled him. The alien cashier watched him closely, its glowing eyes reflecting Mark's transformation. But something else was happening that Mark couldn't immediately grasp. His body was changing. Slowly, he noticed his skin beginning to shimmer, a soft glow emanating from his arms. His reflection in the store's glass door showed his eyes glowing faintly, just like the alien's. "What's happening to me?" he asked, his voice filled with a mix of awe and fear. The alien stepped closer, its voice calm and steady. "You are becoming what you were meant to be, Mark. You are evolving beyond your human limitations." Fear gripped Mark as the weight of the situation hit him. "Evolving? I didn't ask for this," he shouted, his voice echoing through the store. The sensation of power in his body, once thrilling, now felt uncontrollable. His hands began to shake as the glow intensified. "I just wanted water," he exclaimed, backing away from the counter, his mind filled with panic. The alien remained calm, watching him without emotion. "You are one of the few chosen," it said. "You sought something simple, but your soul yearned for more. The universe has answered." But Mark wasn't ready for this. He hadn't signed up for this life-altering event, and now he was terrified of what was happening to him. His body, his very essence, was slipping away from what he had known as Norma. As Mark tried to calm himself, the alien began to speak in a low, melodic tone. "You are not just human, Mark. You were never just human. That thirst you felt was not for water, but for knowledge, for the truth of your existence. You are part of something much larger, something cosmic. Mark stared at the creature, his mind reeling. He wasn't ready to accept what the alien was telling him, but a part of him, deep inside, felt the truth of its words. "I don't understand," he muttered, clutching his glowing arms. The alien's eyes softened slightly. "You will, in time. You have been awakened, and your journey has just begun. The liquid you drank was the key to unlocking your true potential. But you must decide what to do with this gift." Mark's heart raced. Was this a gift or a curse? He wasn't sure anymore. The alien stepped forward, holding out its hand. "Come with me," it said softly. "I can show you worlds beyond your imagination, dimensions of existence that few have ever seen. You have the power now to transcend this limited reality." Mark stared at the outstretched hand, tempted by the unknown but terrified of leaving everything he had ever known behind. His mind raced with conflicting thoughts. On the one hand, the offer was enticing, an adventure beyond anything he had ever dreamed. On the other hand, he didn't want this. He had come here for water, not to change his entire life. He didn't know if he was ready to leave his world behind and step into the unknown. But was there even a choice now? He was no longer the man he had been when he walked into the store. Mark took a deep breath, trying to gather his thoughts. He could feel the pull of the alien's words, the temptation to leave behind his mundane existence for something greater. But fear held him back. I don't know," he said, his voice trembling. The alien didn't pressure him, it simply watched, waiting for his decision. "You can return to your old life," it said, "but you will never be the same. You have been awakened, and that cannot be undone." Mark hesitated, looking at the glowing vial in his hand, then back at the alien. He could go back to his apartment, pretend this never happened, and try to live a normal life again. But he knew, deep down, that nothing would ever be the same. The thirst for water had been replaced with a thirst for knowledge, for truth. And now he had a choice to make: stay and explore the unknown, or return to a life that felt increasingly hollow. With trembling hands, Mark made his choice. He stepped back from the counter, shaking his head. "I can't do this," he said softly. "I just want my life back." The alien's eyes dimmed slightly, as if disappointed but understanding. "Very well," it said, its voice still calm. "But remember, the door will always be open. When you are ready, you will know where to find us." Mark turned and walked out of the store, the bottle of water still clutched in his hand. As he stepped back into the night, he glanced over his shoulder one last time. The alien cashier was gone, and the store looked as normal as ever. But Mark knew that nothing would ever feel normal again. The thirst in his soul had been awakened, and no amount of water could ever quench it now. As he walked down the empty street, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had made the wrong choice. The world felt smaller, more confined, and he knew deep down that he would return to that store one day. The thirst for the unknown would never leave him. Mark just wanted water. But what he got was a glimpse of something far beyond his comprehension. The alien had offered him a doorway to another world, another existence. But in the end, Mark wasn't ready to step through. He returned to his ordinary life, but deep inside he knew he would never be the same again. Would you have made the same choice? Thanks for watching Stellar Vault of Secrets. Stay tuned for more mind-bending stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more intriguing tales.